Three,
Recording. I
two,
also gave thumbs up.
one. Hello and welcome to the Hunters Hub, a video game podcast born of the Monster Hunter community. This is your host Fortuan, uh, showing off my posters again. Sorry, I have to. I love them. And joined by tonight Sasha. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. I didn't have the kids today, so I had a day of just gaming, and I think I watched a YouTube video and then I just gamed all day. So it was crazy.
Fun.
I haven't got to do that in a long time. And Ace, how you doing?
Doing good. Got done with work. Then went immediately. Well, not immediately. Then, like half an hour later, went out and plowed because, well, not plowed, snow blew. Because we got a springtime snowstorm.
I mean, last
Ugh.
week, last week we had like under a quarter inch of snow, but that's it. Like it's been a very snow light season for us this year.
Yeah. The last couple of years, it's been snow light in, right around Christmas time, and then in springtime, or what's supposed to be the start of springtime, it usually then snows.
Last couple years we've had covered in ice storms, like, and we didn't have that this year, so that was fortunate. What we did earlier in the year, I don't remember. It happens so often, I'm getting it mixed up. Because like it used to be a pretty rare thing to see everything covered in like a half inch of ice, and then it's become like a yearly thing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yay!
So
Snow at inappropriate times.
I mean, March is not too bad for snow. If we're in May and we're getting snow, that's a problem, I think. But like
Yeah.
March, even April. April's late for it, but yeah. I mean, we're just by the time March rolls around, you're just ready for spring. Like you're just ready to be back in, for at least for me, for like 60-degree weather. Now, that said, when I went out today, I was in shorts. Like it wasn't very cold here at all. So,
Hmm.
but I don't know.
Fair enough.
I've been in shorts all day, but I've also been inside most of the day too. Like I said, gaming. So tonight was my night to pick, and we were going to have a guest, which is an old high school buddy of mine. But he couldn't get his setup to work very well, so we had to kibosh that. But he did give me his answers for our topic, so I have some answers from him, just some different perspective stuff. But we are talking about the way I categorized it is more dinos. I want to see more dinosaurs in video games. So I kind of gave us a challenge of like put like dinos in video games in three different ways. And so the three different questions, or not questions, but the three different ways that I said. So the audience knows is the first one. A game series with dinos that we need more of. So one that we used to have, or that we just, or if we do have, maybe we just want to see more of that series. Like let's say Jurassic World Evolution, which isn't my pick, but it's a decent series that has dinosaurs in it, right? Well, if you want to call them dinosaurs, because they're genetically engineered frogs, according to most scientists these days. And then
And they don't have feathers most of the time.
The
In a lot of the
newest
movies.
Dominion has a lot of feathers on them. Dominion started putting a lot more scientifically accurate stuff on there. Of course, they had the old T-Rex there too, because it's still the same old T-Rex from Jurassic Park 1 half the time. So, so that was the first one. The second one question that I had on here is a new game idea using dinosaurs. Which that one was easy for me. Like I immediately knew what I wanted to do for that. And then number 3, which is the one that I stumped myself, and I had to like 3 days of like serious thinking on it, as an existing game or series that would benefit from adding dinosaurs to it. Which was kind of like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? When I was thinking of the ideas, I was like, wait, what about this? What about this? So like I did all 3. It was kind of funny because I was out at Applebee's with my dad and my brother, and they were like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Hold on, I just had a great idea for the podcast." So I was typing it out. But then I never answered my own question until today. But I have an answer now, and my friend who couldn't make it, he just sent me over his answers just so he could get the answers out there as well. So
Hmm.
so yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And then I have some game stuff that I wanted to talk about because I've been gaming a lot. Hey, who figures? And so yeah. So who wants to start off tonight? I guess I can if you want because it was my topic. So
I mean, I could start, I suppose.
sure, go ahead, Ace. So our first question to summarize a game with dinosaurs we need more of. So what is that game?
That game would be one of the most obvious options. I would think is we need an actual Jurassic Park game, like either a first person or a third person game that
So not a
either
park builder.
nope, an
Okay.
actual like
Survival
first or
horror.
third person survival horror style game
Okay.
that either like more closely follows the books because the books are far more frightening and graphic than the movie, or um, like follows the movies, or
So
like
we need another
branches off from the movies.
So we need another game in a line of the SNES Jurassic Park game where it more followed the movies.
Hmm. And you
Now,
could
would you
also
want
do
to
it
be
where
like a kid or like a scientist who
I was
cannot
I was
really
going to get into
combat
that.
defend themselves?
I think it should definitely have multiple character options, and you sort of play through their storyline. And
So play through
some
their
people make it out,
perspective
some
slash
people
campaign,
don't. Hmm.
their side of the story, kind of like Last of Us. I'm seeing here. Because you play through Ellie's perspective and Joel's perspective, and then you play through other.
Hmm.
Okay, okay.
Um, from the little bit that I played of it, I guess my idea would sort of be similar to Battlefield 1, because the
Where
little
they
bit that
were
I played of,
where they were doing the different individual soldiers in the different parts of the battle.
yeah, in World
Yeah,
War One, and every time you die, you
yeah.
go to a different soldier.
So
Uh,
did you ever play the series Medal of Honor? It was like a big war.
I
Yes.
have not,
So Medal of
not
Honor
yet.
is specifically what you're talking about. You are specifically playing the stories of Medal of Honor recipients in World War II. Um,
Yeah, so I think it'd be pretty cool to either have it be based in the movie
mhm.
or like based in the movies, and like you follow characters before, during, and after, assuming they make it after. So, like
Okay.
for example, you could play as Mr. Mr. Macho Man, Clever Girl, up to his death in the movie.
Oh,
I forget his name, but
you're
you
you're
could play
talking
up.
about the hunter guy. He was one of the
Yeah,
security guys in the original Jurassic Park.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and so like theoretically, you could play through or like have a cinematic scene of the initial raptor killing the paddock worker when they're moving them into the exhibits and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think it would be kind of cool to explore that and sort of have it um, similar to what we saw in the first Jurassic World. Like you could also get the perspective of like the kids trying to survive through
Hmm.
the park just going to shit and people being killed.
Okay. Okay. So I would consider that a continuation of just the Jurassic Park video games that before they were park builders.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. I actually quite enjoy the park builders quite a bit. So that would be I could see them doing well with this too. But the last time they did something along this lines was like the Genesis and the SNES version. It was the last time they followed the movie to the key. And that was like Jurassic Park 1. So, okay. All right. Sasha, do you want to go next, or you want to have me go? Because I'm going for two people. I have two people's my answer and Eric's
I,
answers.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Mine is Dino Crisis,
Of course.
and I would
Yes.
really love to see it get the Resident Evil treatment. With like actually remake those titles,
Now,
and then
which Dino Crisis are we
going.
talking about? Because 1, 2, and 3 are entirely different animals.
I was like very, very young when those games came out, and I just have memories of watching my uncle and my aunt play it on Dreamcast. So I want to say
probably one.
I don't even know which one it is, but
was it the more
in my mind,
straight up Resident Evil one where you're like it was survival
it was like
horror?
Resident Evil.
That is number 1. Number 2 becomes more of an arcadey Resident Evil style because you got points for killing the dinosaurs and use the points to upgrade your gear, which was really fun for me. So it was like House of the Dead, but in a Resident Evil style of gameplay. Which was
I would also play that.
Which was really fun. Like 2 is my favorite one, and 3 was just like sort of like your modern third person story action game. Like, Gears of War or something at that time.
Well, I want to see them all get a facelift on current gen. I just got my husband Resident Evil 4, and the last time that I saw Resident Evil 4, it was on the Wii.
Yep, I am going to be getting that remake as well. At some point, I will probably be playing that before I play the Dead Space remake. I'm sorry, Ace. I have experience with 4, not Dead Space.
It's just so impressive to see the upgrade. Like, I feel like, and I know you guys are Nintendo people, but it just doesn't matter how scary a game wants to be. I can't take Nintendo graphics seriously.
I'll have you know, Resident Evil 4 started as a GameCube exclusive.
Well, it just wasn't very scary.
How do you... okay, hold on. How do you make a statement like that if you haven't played stuff like Eternal Darkness?
I'm not talking about Eternal Darkness. I'm talking about Resident Evil 4 on Nintendo Wii versus Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 5.
Okay. Well, okay. They're different. The older ones on all systems were very campy and that kind of stuff, but I don't know about the
It's not even just the campiness. It's like the colors, like everything is it is not, it doesn't give that survival horror aesthetic to me. Like, I don't feel scared watching a Nintendo game.
Sure.
Watching Resident Evil and Nintendo.
Sure, but 4 at that time I don't think was intended to be as scary. That's where they started pulling away to more action is 4. Now, I don't know if they pulled back to a little bit more of the survival horror in this remake. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but
it's pretty actiony. I mean, there's
still got Chainsaw Man, Chainsaw Paper Bag, Face Man.
Yeah. All that's there, but the whole aesthetic is darker, grittier.
Oh yeah, like a lot more modern graphics.
You just feel like you're gonna get tetanus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get tetanus from playing this game. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just want to see Dino Crisis get the same treatment.
Sure. I could see that.
That's
I mean,
fair.
Dino Crisis is the one where you could get your arm taken off and you could just go on as one-armed character because the raptor tore it off. What is her name? What was the protagonist's name in Dino Crisis? I don't remember. Oh gosh.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because my brain keeps saying a Resident Evil character's name.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking Chris, but that's the guy from Resident Evil 1.
Regina.
Regina. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Regina. Okay.
With that red hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dino Crisis. Okay. So I'll lead off with Eric's answers and then I'll go into mine. So Eric was going to answer Primal Rage, which is something that I love. So I'm happy he said that because that was one I was considering. Primal Rage is just an old arcade fighting game. It had sort of dinosaurs. They were like super dinosaurs. So you had Sauron like Lord of the Rings Sauron, who was this giant. They were all essentially gods of nature. So Sauron was the god of hunger, who was a giant T-Rex and wanted to eat the whole world. Then you had Diablo,
Okay.
who was a giant volcanic fire T-Rex who wanted to burn the whole world. So they were sort of like the evil gods. Uh, you had Vertigo, who was the goddess of magic, who was like this two, like they're all like Godzilla monsters too. Like they're straight up Godzilla sized dinosaur like things. She was like a two-legged cobra. Like she was like a dinosaur model with like a cobra head, and she could hypnotize you, and she had like a super long tail she would whip you with. You had Talon, who was like the one good dinosaur god, who was just like, he was the smallest, but he was a raptor. He was just like a giant striped tiger raptor with some white feathers. And then you had Armadon, which was like all of the herbivore dinosaurs mixed into one. He had like a Styracosaurus like shield, Triceratops horns. He had Ankylosaurus back. He had a Stegosaurus tail. He was just
So what do you do in this game?
It's a fighting game. It's a straight up just
Okay.
one-on-one fighting game like Mortal Kombat. And you just, whoever won the tournament won the world, and they did that. So those were the 4 dinosaur ones, and then you had the 2 monkeys. Chaos, which was like a Ace, you'll know this one. It's essentially Kangala before Kangala existed. He was a giant pink monkey who burped, and puked everywhere. And you had Blizzard, who is essentially a Blenganga, which was an ice monkey. He did ice power stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Monster Hunter was inspired by those games because they predate Monster Hunter by quite a bit. But so yeah, so that was Primal Rage. It was an old arcade game. It came to SNES and Genesis back in those times. I love Primal Rage. Actually, I could get a Primal Rage poster. Anyways, maybe. I don't think they have one. But so my answer was going to be, I want Turok back. Like, we've not had a Turok since the Xbox 360
360,
reboot?
I think.
Yeah. I was in high school, I think, when that happened. And that's been a long time. That's like, I need Turok. I need Turok back in the video game space. Supposedly Night Dive picked up the license, but they only did that to remake the Turok games, which they did, and they did very well. But I want a new Turok. Reboot it again. Something. Just make a straight sequel and just forget about rebooting it. I don't care. I want Turok. Also, I wore this shirt today. It says tomorrow will probably be better. This is the Stegosaurus during the apocalypse.
I thought you would.
I mean, I had to fit the theme. It's that on my Turok shirt.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough.
100% Turok, because that's my favorite dinosaur guy. It's Turok.
Did you
Yeah,
play
and I
the
mean,
one that came
Talked
out?
about it before.
Did you play the one for 360?
Oh yeah, I played that one. I liked it. It wasn't the same, but I liked it.
So what do you want to see continue, and what do you not want to see continue? Because that was not a very popular game.
I will say I would like to see Ron Perlman continue because he was a very big voice actor in that game. I would like to see that one. I don't have a lot of problems with that one because that one was just more of like the problem was it was trying to be a Gears of War with dinosaurs. Like it was just trying to follow the popular trend of game design at the time. And it obviously wasn't as good as Gears of War or a game of the ilk. So people just kind of dunked on it. It was a little repetitive in level design eventually, but overall it did what it was supposed to do. It just, you are on a dinosaur planet and you are trying to escape. I would like to see a more traditional Turok story where you're not in a dinosaur planet. It is the Hollow Earth theory, essentially, where you're transported to like Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of thing. And Turok a lot of times is trying to make his way back to his tribe because he's fallen through. That's what happens in the comics. The original video games get really trippy and start talking about space aliens and protectors of the universe and stuff, and they go all sorts of places. Especially, I mean, you really start to see that in Turok 2, where you're like on the alien mothership and stuff. So maybe less of the sci-fi approach and just stick with the dinosaurs. But I mean, it's also cool to see laser dinosaurs. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like T-Rex with a laser eye was pretty good. The reason why that
See,
persists.
that's just reminding me of the Tunnels book series I read in high school.
Okay.
This basically has that same concept. Well, you don't know it at first, but basically has that same concept of hollow Earth theory.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out small and then it develops to that, and then it develops past that into Earth is a spaceship essentially,
Okay.
and they have to, by the end, and they
Yeah.
have to go underground into underground settlements they've found to survive as the Earth travels through the void of space away out of our solar system, I think it was.
Okay. All right.
Spoilers. But very interesting series. If you
Okay.
have time and you're interested,
I might be.
definitely give that a look and a read.
There's a local woman who wrote a book about the murders that happen here, or the disappearances, I should say, that happen here in Chillicothe. That's my next read that I'm doing.
Mm.
It's fictional, but it's about the real life. It's based on the real life people who disappeared here in Chillicothe like 10 years ago. So I guess I don't know. All those true crime people know about it. I don't. But
I mean, here in Green Bay, we've got true crime stuff just unfolding by the daily.
That sucks.
We have a lady who was just found competent to stand trial, who was very clearly trying to get the insanity plea.
Oh.
She even tried. Well, she attacked her legal counsel at the time, her lawyer, and that didn't work out.
Oh.
But she had claimed that she had no memory of what happened because she allegedly blacked out while on meth. And while on meth, killed and dismembered and beheaded her boyfriend. Or
fun.
I think it was boyfriend. Yeah. And there were other elements involved, and it was very disturbing. I had only initially, even though I think the report was from over a year ago, I had only ever remembered or seen reported the beheading thing. That was the main thing. There's a lot of other stuff to it as well, like the dismemberment, which I hadn't heard about. And I'm like, yikes.
Yeah, I heard about the disappearances like on a YouTube channel one time, and I was like, wait, that was in Chillicothe? Heck yeah, it was. Just, I think it was 5 women who disappeared within a year. Were just gone. Or year or two. So, someone wrote a book about it and fictionalized it into a thing. And that's the next one I'm probably going to be reading. So, back to the topic at hand. So, Turok was my returning series, and Primal Rage was Eric's, who couldn't be here. Sasha, you had Dino Crisis, and Ace, you want a more traditional Jurassic Park. We're going to stay along the SNES series, but modern.
And more survival horror. Definitely
they were definitely survival.
Mature game.
They were definitely, they were not mature, but they were definitely like, you are not friends with the dinosaurs. You are running away from them. The raptors and the T-Rex attack. Like, it wasn't very in depth because it was a SNES game, but you know, you were
you were doing
what the movie was doing, running away.
fully fully want disembowelments, arms and legs ripped off, throats ripped out,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Well, okay. Sure. All right. So a new game idea using dinosaurs. Ace, what do you got for us on that one?
I couldn't really think of one.
I mean, you literally just
Solidly,
did with the Jurassic Park one, but okay.
which is why I was gonna say. So I sort of copped out and did like a 2-for-1 of like
Uh-huh.
have a survival horror dinosaur game. You could sort of do it in the vein of like the 2004, I think it was 2004, King Kong movie, where
Mm-hmm.
like you're adventuring to a remote island for some reason. It could be like to search for treasure or to seek out like an old civilization or, something like that. And then there happen to be dinosaurs, and then the rest of the game is you trying to either survive or escape the island.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing.
Okay.
I mean, you could also include the horrifying chasm of insects and giant leeches too that movie has. I'm
Yep.
sure there are plenty of people that won't rewatch 2004 Kong movie because of that scene.
Yeah, because of the bug scene. Yeah, I remember watching that in theaters, being like, "Oh no!" Like, oh, when the
I
bug is
mean,
like closing in on his
just the
head.
just the bugs by themselves are unnerving, but the giant like leechy things that can just like fully envelop your arm and your head and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Problem was, you would die of suffocation more than anything from that, and that was the weird part because
Yeah.
they didn't have the bite power to remove anything. They were just like attached to you and digesting you. If especially with your arm, that would just be painful. Like, yeah, it was rough. It was a rough thing to think about.
Well, I mean,
Thank you, Peter
theoretically,
Jackson.
they would have more inset rows of teeth, like a lamprey. So
Yeah.
theoretically, they're just puncturing him and drinking all his blood,
It's great.
which is even worse to think of.
It's not any better. Okay. Okay. So you would describe that as sort of like a survival horror escape game, then?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Escape.
there's plenty of ways to do survival horror. It doesn't necessarily have to be an escape game,
Okay.
but
All right. All right, Sasha, what'd you come up with for a dinosaur
Uh,
game?
mine's a little cutesy.
Okay. I'm here for this.
So I'm thinking like Dinosaur Valley, like Stardew Valley, but you've got like a little farm and you've got a dinosaur
Oh.
and you've got to take care of it. You grow certain like crops that make your dinosaur very healthy and happy, and you train it and teach it tricks and stuff. Or maybe you turn it into like a hunting dinosaur and you do a totally different type of aspect. Like you're not farming and building up stuff, but you're hunting and gathering and exploring and
Okay.
crafting things. But I was basically picturing like a Tamagotchi with Stardew Valley mixed together.
I like it. You kind of get that a little bit in Stardew Valley with like when you get the animals and stuff. You got to do stuff for them and things, but it's a very small part of that game. But making it a bigger part, I think that's cool.
Yeah,
Your little
that's what I was thinking.
pet.
Cute little.
I mean, you can't not call it the Great Valley, though, right? Like, if it's a dinosaur one.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You don't? Ah, it was the whole thing in Littlefoot.
Look, I didn't like that traumatic shit as a kid. My brother watched it all the time. I watched it like one time and it was enough.
It's the Great Valley. Yeah, it was the big place that they were trying to get to in Land Before Time.
I was so good on that after one time.
Mother?
Well, Well, you'll be
That still
pleased
gets
to
me.
know there's like 40 extra Land Before Time movies, and I'm pretty sure none of them are as traumatic as that first one.
14. There are 14
my brother
movies.
watched all that stuff all the time growing up, and I'd just go do something else.
I
I
was
read
a
a book.
very big fan of
Didn't want to take the chance.
very
No.
big fan of Land Before Time. In fact, I still have on my phone right now the Diana Ross song that she did for that movie. I'm not going to make it play it on the stream, but because that will get copyright claimed right away if we ever do anything with it. But that's also a very sad movie in general. I don't know if you know about the story behind that one, Sasha. But Diana,
About the voice actress,
yeah,
the little girl. Yeah, I do know that.
which is very sad. Trying to find it.
I remember the other dinosaur movie from young days. We're Back. You guys remember that
Yeah,
one?
Turn
I
back
sure
the
do.
rock. Turn back the rock. Sorry. Yeah, it was the song from it. Turn back the clock. Yeah, that was I think John Goodman voiced the T-Rex on that one. I think.
I think so. I have to IMDb it.
Yep. Yeah, We're Back was a good. Although the weird I don't know. That pterodactyl gave way too many bedroom eyes to people. That was very weird. I like
Yep,
that movie.
John Goodman.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Amazing actor.
Jay Leno voiced Vorb.
Vorb. That's the Vorb is the Triceratops.
Uh-huh.
That's hilarious. Oh, I did not know that. But yeah, there was the pterodactyl seductress, which was very weird to me. I was like, why are you trying to get all cozy with the T-Rex? You're a pterodactyl. He eats you. Like, what are you doing? It was very weird for me as a kid. Okay. So the Stardew Valley. We'll avoid the Great Valley since you don't like that movie as much. So the Stardew Valley dinosaur game. Okay. So the one that Eric suggested, which was something that I actually would find kind of fun, is imagine a Dark Souls game where you're just a caveman stuck in a dinosaur world. There you go. That's it. You're not getting souls, you're getting meat. And you're just running through, lighting campfires, trying to get through this dinosaur game. You got.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like its simplicity, honestly. It's just like, no, Dark Souls with dinosaurs. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm into it.
What's the class that starts with nothing? Like no armor, no weapons.
The Depraved, I think, is what it's called.
There it is. Yeah, so you start as depraved.
You are just the Depraved.
Yeah.
In Bloodborne, I think it's called Waste of Skin.
Waste of Skin.
Beautiful.
Yeah. There's a name for it in Elden Ring too that's different, but I don't know it. I don't know. But yeah, you're just a caveman.
See, because I was thinking of what the class would be, and then I was thinking just like sort of the pre-human ape men from like 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then my mind went to the pre-man hot dog finger ape men from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yes.
Cece
yes.
is obsessed
Let's do this
with the hot dog finger people. Like she talks about that all the time since she watched that movie with me. She loved it. And I'm surprised she loved it, being as young as she was. Hot dog finger people. So Dark Souls with dinosaurs was Eric's idea. My idea is I'm surprised kind of not, but kind of surprised that no one took the dinosaurs perspective on this. So I would like a game where you're through the playing. It's like it's a tactical strategy RPG, right? So like Final Fantasy Tactics, that kind of thing. But you are managing a herd of dinosaurs in like a roguelike scenario. So like you're either a herd of triceratops or sauropods or whatever, and depending on which and I want the ability to be able to pick like this run I'm going to do the triceratops, this run I'm going to do the ankylosaurs, or this so various like dinosaur types where you have to travel in as a herd, and essentially you're moving to greener pastures, sort of like what Land Before Time does. They have to get to the area is dying out, so they have to migrate or something. And if you pick a predator, like you would have to follow the herd, sort of like an almost like an Oregon Trail kind of deal, where you are managing a herd, but you're actually doing combat in strategy RPG, fighting off the carnivores, gathering food for the herbivores, that kind of stuff. So like that was kind of the stretch that I took with this one. But I definitely wanted it to be a strategy one. Did you guys? This was before we did Bickering Bucks. We had a side quest called the was it something Chalice. It's not Everflowing Chalice. I think that's a magic card. Oh my gosh, there's some game that's like something Chalice. Massive Chalice. There you go. Have you guys ever seen that?
Heard of it, but not played it.
That's a strategy game, but like it's got some interesting mechanics where your units age as well. So you have to worry about managing your units age and stuff, because they're going to die from getting too old, because the campaign takes place over hundreds of years. So stuff like that where you're just managing also things. So like you have to worry about like where are the young, where are the old, that kind of stuff too. Like maybe not non-combatants, but ones that are certainly not good at combating because of their age and whatnot. That kind of thing. So like that kind of mechanic was something that I thought about as well. So like if you're a Triceratops herd, obviously you are circling up around the weak in a fight scenario or whatever, and or the sauropods are like, well, sorry, you were too slow. We're just big enough they can't hurt us, so let's just keep going. But like also your amount of units and stuff would be different. So if you're like you're playing like let's say a hadrosaur, you'd have like so many different units to deal with. But if you're playing like another like sauropods, you got like maybe 5 units, because like you're so much larger and so much tankier and stuff. Like, so I thought put a lot of thought into like the mechanics of like what would you do and what would you be doing, and make it a roguelike where you can just do a run. Can we get through this time? What are the different scenarios? And make it random scenarios and random battles and whatnot. Do that kind of thing. But it's like, hey, how do you cross the river? Right? Like, do you want to try to take this bridge? Do you want to just walk across?
You got to think of other stuff too, like food availability, water as you're traveling, like as well as trying to defend it and avoid predators. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because like, hey, do you stop here to feed? Because you'd have a chance of being attacked to get to take a break right now, and
that is a mechanic right now that is really annoying in Death Road to Canada, because you'll be like my last game, I had so much fuel, but I had no food constantly. And every time I'd stop somewhere that had food, there would be like way too many zombies for me to actually be able to defend myself. And I didn't have enough supplies to be able to defend myself, but I need to stop there to get the food. And I'm not going to survive if I keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would, along those lines is what I was thinking for my game. But me being me, of course, I chose the perspective of the dinosaur. You get to play as the dinosaurs versus playing against them, which I think is most of the time what happens. So the last question is the one that I found extremely hard. So hopefully you guys had a better answer. So an existing series or game that would benefit from adding dinosaurs. Ace, what was your answer for that?
I'll get to that in a second. But first, going back to our previous conversation,
Okay.
I found out where 36 of my dollars may be going in the future. A24, their shop, sells hot dog finger gloves. So I
Okay.
might just be irresponsibly throwing away money at some point. We'll see.
That's funny.
Maybe not. Probably not. I got to be responsible.
I bet you those sales got boosted because of that movie. I bet you people are like,
Potentially.
I want hot dog finger gloves. And Oscar Mayer is like, we got you. We got you in your weird shit.
But my answer sort of got stolen by your friend's idea of
Dark
a
Souls.
Soulsborne game adding in dinosaurs, especially with Elden Ring having a horse mount added to the game. I think it'd be interesting to have a Souls game where not only can you have like a dinosaur as a mount, you could also potentially have them as an aid in combat.
Okay. But that is a bit different because being the caveman versus the dinosaurs is very them versus you, but them being an ally is a bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that would also benefit because Soulsborne games are notoriously hard,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people out there who don't have internet connection, so it would help to not have to rely on outside help if you already have a partner in the game that can help you out.
Right. Okay. Well, you have the bells in Elden Ring, the summons.
Yeah. So, just a thought though.
Okay. It's always used the mimic summon. It just was another copy of me, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so some Souls-like game having dinosaurs added in that as allies specifically. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in the Elden Ring, they had friggin' giant crab/lobsters that would crab slap the shit out of you, as Dan Avinan put it in the Game Grumps playthrough.
With their giant water sprays too. Those were annoying. Those were very dangerous at the beginning of the game. So Sasha, what was your addition of dinos?
I have been playing a ton of The Sims, so I thought of a couple of different ways that dinosaurs could be included in The Sims, and I think it would be really cool.
Okay.
So, right now in The Sims, you have vampires, aliens, mermaids, werewolves, like all kinds of witches, supernatural shit.
Sure.
So, I feel like this could just be a thing. So, one of the DLCs in The Sims is Get to Work. So they opened up 3 new career paths that you can actually like go to work with your sim and like do the job. And it's not just like the clock speeds forward super fast while they're at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having the option of there being like an archaeologist career would be really cool. And finding like, you know, dinosaur stuff. But within the scientist career, which is one of the options in Get to Work, I'm a level 10 now, like max career, and I have made cloning devices. I have made a device that lets me open a wormhole. I am building a rocket ship. I have been abducted by aliens 3 times. So I feel like we could work in dinosaurs by either the Pokemon thing, you know, like replicating an archaeologist's fossil, or opening up maybe a wormhole and time traveling.
Okay.
Or just having like it be like a little pet, just like the Pets DLC.
Okay.
And it like just be like a little tiny version of a dinosaur. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of options, and it would be really fun.
A little compy. Little Compsognathus.
So instead of like a little dog in his little dog house, I've got like a little tiny herbivore dinosaur, and I can plant stuff in the backyard, and he's got like a little dinosaur bed. Be cute.
Okay. All right.
I like it.
So Eric's answer for the in existing series, apparently it's already been done, but he wants it back, was Fortnite had raptors for a time. So you'd be playing in Fortnite and
Interesting.
you would just get attacked by raptors. They were just roaming raptor packs, and he wants that back. I can't speak much to that. I didn't play Fortnite at that time. I've played it very sparingly. Although I did play it last night with friends, but it was just normal kill people kind of stuff. We play in no build mode now. I guess you can not build buildings in Fortnite now, which is why I didn't like it, because I was like, yeah, I don't want to have to think about building while trying to shoot people. I just rather just shoot people. So that's what we do. But yeah, apparently there was raptors in Fortnite at one point, and he wants his back, which sounds cool. I didn't play during that season or whatever that mechanic was, so I've got no context of what that means, other than there were raptors. So sounds fun. For me, Sasha, you might like this one. Have you guys seen the show called Terra Nova?
No.
It only ran for one
I-
season, so I'm not surprised.
think I watched 1 or 2 episodes. Yes.
So
Isn't that like they are like space travelers or something like that, and they crash on a planet that has dinosaurs?
no, so Terra Nova is Earth is fucked. We screwed it up, right? So they find a way to travel back in time, but it's a one-way.
That's what it was.
So
Okay, yeah.
they figure out, when they figure it out, it only goes back to one time period, which is the Cretaceous. Like they can't pick like the 1980s or anything convenient. It's like, like we're going back to the Cretaceous, so you might have to deal with a world-ending meteor at some point. But essentially, the world's clean and it's not polluted, so humanity gets to try again. So there's this program of sending people back to the Cretaceous, and it's called Terra Nova. I want this is a little bit of a stretch of putting it in an existing series, but I think it would work really well, a Mass Effect game with Terra Nova. So like a Terra Nova DLC, because what you end up having is you have a community of people that was very political, and you had to navigate a lot of getting people on your side, this kind of thing.
You just described Andromeda. Like,
but dinosaurs.
that's what Andromeda is. They have to rebuild society and terraform worlds so that Earth people can have another chance, and all the other like alien races are there to support them. But it's really all about the humans.
Okay. Sure, but it's dinosaurs. Terra Nova literally is just dinosaurs. They're in the Cretaceous period.
Yeah, there's like I'm pretty sure you fight some dinosaur-looking things on one of the planets in Andromeda.
Say, I didn't play Andromeda that much. I played through
Well,
the beginning.
I say you need to give it another chance. You just asked for it. You just asked for Andromeda.
But it's not. But I like real dinosaurs. You guys do need to see the show though at some point. It's not the greatest, but I do like it a lot.
So is it like a more adult version of Land of the Lost?
Maybe. I almost put it on par with something like Eureka without the humor.
Okay.
That's
I've
sort
not
of
watched
like,
Eureka either.
it's about a community more so than the individuals. There is a main character that you are following, but he is very much there for the community kind of thing. There's a bit of mystery of figuring out some things, but it's really more about how do we as a people survive in this time in this community and stay safe kind of deal. So that was kind of my idea. I had an alternate idea if you would like to hear that, but that one
share.
that wasn't as fleshed out because it doesn't make any sense and it's never going to happen. And I'm not sure I'd want it to happen, but again, this would be like a what if DLC, sort of like there was like the offshoot of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, sort of along those lines. Like, hey, let's take this game. This is a separate thing, not part of the main game, has no bearing on the real story or anything. A more primal / dinosaur version of Diablo, where a lot of the skills are replaced with dinosaur-like things. So, like, if you think about specifically something like the druid summons a bear, summons the wolves, that kind of thing, and has shape-shifting, would turn into a werewolf or a werebear or that kind of thing. The druid would be dinosaur shapes and dinosaur companions and that kind
And
of
the
thing.
hunter would have a dinosaur companion. That would be cool.
Yes. So like more like a primal DLC where you're fighting dinosaurs with dinosaurs. And of course, instead of raising skeletons, you're raising dinosaur skeletons and zombies with the necromancer and that kind of thing. It's like that kind of thing.
I would play that. That would be cool.
Sort of like, I was just trying to think like what would be cool of like an ARPG with dinosaur stuff. Like, well, obviously the dinosaurs helping you, kind of like what Ace was saying, except Dark Souls with the ARPG is my spin. So like, skeletal little ankylosaur is your little tank, and the skeleton golem is like a thing for bone golem, I should say, actually, the thing for necromancers. So your little bone golem is now just dinosaur bones and stuff like that. That was my alternate idea. It just wasn't as fleshed out because it was just like, hey, it's got to be a side thing because I don't want that stuff in the main story of Diablo. It's not about dinosaurs, but I could handle it being like a DLC or like a fan project thing. So that's why I came up with Mass Effect, because I was thinking about watching Terra Nova, and Terra Nova is very much a, hey, we're in a space colony kind of situation and managing people and that kind of stuff. It was like Terra Nova for Mass Effect. It's easy.
Andromeda for Mass Effect.
But I want it to be Terra Nova. Okay. So yeah, that was this kind of the idea tonight. I do have some other games I've been playing and I want to talk about quite a bit, if you guys don't mind. You guys, I know you've been playing Sims. I also saw you were playing the one you'd mentioned earlier, the route
Death Road to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Because that's what Ripley likes to play.
Yes.
So. But in The Sims, insane developments.
Mm-hmm.
My Sim got pregnant with a celebrity Sims baby, a married celebrity Sims baby.
Oh,
very scandalous. No. While they were on a secret island getaway where there were no paparazzi. But it happened to also fall on the week of Christmas, and my person, being in her 3rd trimester, had an affair with Father Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I didn't know you could do. So now
Santa's
I have a
cheater.
ghost boyfriend. Yeah. Well, Santa's not married. Just the celebrity that she's been dating. So I have a ghost boyfriend, and Father Christmas is my boyfriend, and then this celebrity guy is, and then so I had the baby, and then I really just I couldn't do the whole let's take care of the baby thing in The Sims. So I managed the world and I moved the baby into the celebrity man's home, and I took $30,000 from him instead. So it was like surrogacy. And it's not her baby anymore.
Wow.
So that's what I've been doing in The Sims.
That is amazing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Jeez. I might have to look into the Sims game, funny stories like that.
I'll let you know. Let you know next week what's going on.
I've never actually played Sims, to be honest. I've played around in it a bit, but never actually sat down and played a game. So, we'll see. That story right there makes me a little intrigued because it's just so bonkers.
I don't even have any mods. Like that's the part that is crazy to me is that I've been playing vanilla Sims like that.
That is different. That is so. I have two games that I'm going to talk about today in depth, and I just I got to talk about it to someone. Part of the reason why I have podcasts, so I can talk about the games when I get really inspired. So I had a lot of time to play. You know, I was really excited about Octopath Traveler 2 this year. I talked about it several times, yeah, upcoming games, and when I talked about Octopath Traveler 1 a bunch. So it came out during the move, of course. So like I didn't get a lot of time with it, and I finally got to sit down with it. And I will say, for your context, Sasha and Ace, I don't know if you're familiar with Octopath as much.
I don't really know.
Essentially,
I haven't picked it up yet.
they are 8 separate stories that are played in this JRPG style of a game where you just each character has 4 chapters of their own story, and then you're kind of done. But you level up through turn-taking battles, and I won't get into the mechanics of the battles. It's not super important for what I'm going to be talking about today. But essentially, you have 8 characters. They all have their own stories that they're going through, and they are not connected to any other character's stories. They're just there to help you do the battles when you're in the battles. And each person is their own class, and they do, like, you got your wizard type, which are the scholars. You got your warriors, that kind of stuff. You know, classic fantasy RPG kind of things. Octopath Traveler 1, I love the game. I love the stories. You had interesting characters. You had some interesting classes. You had Primrose, the dancer, who was like sold into sex slavery as a kid and was escaping that. And it was sort of her story of escaping that and sort of like moving on with her life after that, figuring out what she wanted to do kind of thing. So but I would say Primrose was the deepest story in number 1. It doesn't mean that the stories weren't interesting or they didn't have their own twists or turns, but like plot wise, they were all fairly simple, if that makes sense. These plots are not simple, except excluding one. And I have only done through chapter 2 on 2 characters and chapter 1 on most of the other characters. I'm still currently in chapter 1 of what I've considered the flattest story, so I don't really have a lot of context as to what's sort of happening. But so I'm just going to give you a rundown of what I've dealt with this so far, okay? So first one I want to talk about, I will say, is probably the most interesting character to most people, because I'm also going to compare this to the first one to give you some sort of context, because they all line up, they have the same classes, they're just different people. So like they have an equivalent class in the previous game, but they're not connected in any way. So you have, his name is Temenos, and he's the cleric. Familiar with D&D stuff, you know, cleric, he's the boring healer, right? His motto is, I do doubt. He's a religious cleric that is all about doubt. He is about inspiring doubt in people rather than hope. He is a very shady, very interesting cleric. And it is off the bat very unnerving. He will do stuff like, oh, I guess we have to break into this person's house to figure out what's going on. And they're like, you can't do that. And he's like, oops, just did. Haha. Like, he is such a weird character to be he's an inquisitor. Yeah, so his class is cleric, but he's an inquisitor, and he's called the Hound. His nickname is the Hound because he actually is an investigator for the church. And he does inquisitions. Like, he interrogates people is one of his abilities. Like, draws information out of them forcefully. Like, it is a very dark cleric, but he's essentially a good guy. His methods are very gray, and he's very much like a detective more than like some goody two shoes cleric. Whereas previously, the other cleric was literally on a pilgrimage and about healing the people with faith and love. Like literally that was her story. Was to do this pilgrimage. And then this guy was like, no, my mentor was murdered and I'm going to figure out who. And then you kind of find out that there's this like secret cult that is trying to maybe revive a dead god, a dead evil god. And you're like, holy cow, this is way different than the first one.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Then you have Oswald the Scholar. Little context before, old scholar, he needed to find a book. He was super evil and powerful, so no one else could use it. Yada, yada. Not super deep on the story. Still interesting. Still enjoyed it. Oswald the Scholar. A much darker mage whose family was murdered by a colleague for greed and power. Literally. He figures out how to enhance magic with math. Like he was applying equations to magic to make it enhanced and better. So he's super good at magic. And his colleague gets jealous of him, locks the guy's family in their house and burns it down. Then frames you, and you start in prison. And your first two chapters, the most of the game, you play chapter 1, you're off on your adventure. For him specifically, you have to get through chapter 2 because chapter 1 is getting the escape plan and chapter 2 is escaping prison. So very different, like very deep. Of course, this one's all about revenge. That part of it seems kind of, one note afterwards once you get out of prison, but actually playing through the prison break and stuff. Oh yeah, and also you're a mage who can't, during in the prison, you can't use spells because they gave you like a man in the iron mask situation where they wired your jaw shut. So you also had to figure out how to unmask yourself so you could use your spells at one point.
Yeah.
Throne, the thief, which the other thief was like, got tricked into doing, like, steal these 3 things, you're done. Throne, she's basically part of this thieving clan called the oh goodness gracious, some sort of snake, I can't remember, some black snakes or something like that. Giant thieving organization in this town. She has a collar that she can't take off, and the only way she can take it off that signifies that she's basically owned by them, owned by the guild. And her goal is to get the collar taken off, but like she doesn't like killing people, but she kind of has to because she's like the assassin for the guild. So like her whole thing is she just wants to get out of the life. She really reminds me of Black Widow, except less emotionless, like a very emotional Black Widow. She actually has some very, emotional times. Like I don't know. I just saw a bunch of Avenger stuff recently, and Black Widow came off as very like get business done. She's like the opposite. She gets business done, but she has a lot of problems with it. Ochette the Hunter, you're basically an anime cat girl. That's what she is.
Okay.
She's totally obsessed with meat. And she's just interesting because she's super naive, and because she's like a beast person, she takes a lot of like dialogue literally from humans. So you get a very like Drax situation of comedy. Sort of like taking things way too literally. She's amusing. She actually has a really fun banter with Temenos, the cleric. She's like, why do they call you the Hound? Because, she's more familiar with animals. And he's like, well, it's a matter of my investigation skills. He's like, I think it's because you have big puppy dog eyes. And he's like, what the... like, so she's like the comedic relief, which I enjoy. You have like the apothecary who she's not really a goody two shoes, but she's trying to help people. So she's trying to heal people from their sickness and stuff, but she has amnesia. And it's a good thing she has amnesia because she's apparently part of some cult that has been poisoning people instead of helping them. Like, and she doesn't have any memory. So she's trying to figure out why the heck these people are like poisoning people and why they think that she's doing that and stuff. I think one of the more interesting ones, his name's Hikari, the warrior. He's a deposed prince who has a brother, and his brother was supposed to take the throne. And his father was like this warmongering, like, we are taking as much land as we can and trying to rule the world kind of thing. But in his older years, he kind of learns the mistake of those ways, and he's like, that's not how you can live. Like, we'll always be at war if we're like that. So kind of learns from his son, which is your character Hikari, to sort of be like, because he was more in charge of the town than the warring stuff, and he built a community of like friendship and helping people and that kind of stuff. I mean, he was a warrior and stuff, but like, well, your older brother doesn't like that idea, murders his father,
Be right back.
blames you, kicks you out of this kingdom, frames you for the murder, and now you're there to essentially amass armies to take your kingdom back because your brother's dick. So, I don't know. I just found these super interesting. The Particio the merchant. Most merchants you would think like, hey, I'm gonna make money because I'm super good at selling things. Literally, this guy, I wrote it down. His quote: I desire to aid those who suffer from that devil poverty. So he's using his wheeling and dealing skills to sort of get people out of poverty rather than make himself rich. Like, he's going around helping people with their lives by wheeling and dealing and making money. It was a really interesting take because he grew up in poverty and learned how to get out of it through his deal making skills. So his story is about helping people get out of poverty. It was a very interesting take for someone who's like a silver tongue merchant. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I find all these stories super interesting because they took a very different turn very early on, and I haven't finished any of these stories, not even close. The last one, which I think is the most flat one, is Agnia the dancer. Her mother used to be a star dancer, like a celebrity. She died. She wants to follow in her mom's footsteps, and there's something about her dad sort of like shut off emotionally when that happened, and now her idea is to make people smile and bring hope to them through dancing because she's the dancer. So that's the
I can
flattest
see
one.
why you think that's the most boring one.
Yeah, but I'm not done. That's the one I'm not done with chapter 1 yet. Like, there hasn't really been the inciting incident for her to leave yet, so there might be more to it. But like, all of these stories, like, I was interested in the first ones, but these ones are far more interesting, I think, in general. And I just like, I really want to see, like, especially Temenos, I want to see where this goes. Like, I really like seeing like Goody Two Shoes cleric being turned on its head, where he is not a good guy, but he is on the good side, kind of deal, like an anti-hero kind of deal.
Yeah, he sounds a little bit like Bigby in The Wolf Among Us, the Fable series. He's the
Okay.
big bad wolf who is the sheriff of
Oh,
Fabletown.
okay.
And
Yeah, I
so
know.
he's like really struggles with the identity of like everybody in Fabletown remembers that like all the bad stuff that the big bad wolf has done, but he's glamored, and so he doesn't look like a wolf anymore. He looks like a handsome
Mm-hmm.
guy, and he's the sheriff, and he is the one that is investigating the corruption in Fabletown and has to kind of like set aside his bad reputation to get people to believe him. And it's almost like a reverse Boy Who Cried Wolf situation as well, because you know, he's telling everybody about all this bad shit, and everyone's like, yeah, but you.
Yeah.
But you.
Yeah. Well, with this guy, no one in the church likes him too. So like, even though he's right half the time, it's like, why are you like this? Like, and like, people are afraid of him too because he's the Inquisitor. Like, he's the
Yeah.
guy that interrogates.
Exactly how Bigby is too.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. To me, I think him, the guy who went to prison and the warrior he was deposed. I think those are the most interesting three to me. But we'll see. Like I think right now the amnesia story with the apothecary, I'm not super into amnesia stories. That happens a lot. It's kind of hard to do in a good way. And yeah, the dancer. We'll see with the dancer. I don't know. So yeah, so Octopath 2 has been really great so far. It is shaping up already at the top of my list for games. And that's just the story part I talked about. The mechanics and all that stuff are really great for me too. I think you guys are going to be more interested in this other game I want to talk about though, because it is a wild ride. It is a, what do they call it? A visual novel, right? Called Leap of Faith. It was on sale. I just looked at it. I was like, sure, why not? Pan introduced me to that weird one where you were dating a disabled character a long time ago. Like you were at this school for disabled folks, and then you were disabled because of a heart condition, and then it was a weird dating sim that was actually really, like, I don't know, in depth and focused on a lot of like people issues and was like super down to earth. I was like, holy cow, this is a good game. This is kind of how this is shaping up to be, and it's weird because it's played off as this sort of like, you're like a party-ish boy, 26-year-old dude who has, it's like I won't call it a dating sim because it's not labeled as such, but essentially you have a path to date these 5 different girls through different situations. But it's just mostly just a visual novel. It's not really super about the dating as much as just sort of like seeing where the story goes kind of deal, and dating is just part of that. A lot of it deals with like his life and their lives, and you have a best friend that's in the game that you do, and you do mostly just dialogue decisions to go through the game. There's not a lot of other mechanics through it. There's a little bit of checking information on your phone that you can look up or take pictures occasionally sometimes. They'll give you picture opportunities, and they'll be like, hey, she's going to smile. You can take a picture of her face or take a picture of her chest kind of deal. It's like, are you going to be like a horny dog? Or are you going to be like sincere? So they only really they give you stats too. So like you have like, there's like romantic, flirty, and athletic, and they just open up different dialogue choices essentially. So I will preface this though by saying it is entirely an adult game. There are full-on sex scenes that have no cutting of anything. Like, I did not expect this, but they did say that was going to happen. And I thought, like, oh, yeah, it'll fade to black or whatever. No, they do not. It happens. They'd actually give you a warning of, like, if you're not okay with this stuff, you can either skip it or click through it or stuff. I was like, okay, cool. What's surprising? There's 2 things about this game that are a couple things that are really surprising me, and I'm not talking about like the relationship raunchy stuff. Is the music's actually really good, but I came to find out it's actually licensed music a lot of the time. So like, I'm sitting here like they play some good songs, good times. Like at one time I was sitting in the chair like this, going along with the music. Like it was like, I know, look like Numa Numa doing that, but like, like it was just pretty good music stuff. But it's like a crazy story about this dude who his girlfriend 2 years ago left him without a word, and he hasn't dated since. And he just like 3 days ago got fired from his job. So his friend, which is you're playing this specific character that you name. So I just named him Fortuan. And you have your best friend Chris who's helping you out. And you're at this restaurant and you're like, hey, let's go out tonight. Let's do something. You haven't left your house in like 3 days. Let's just go out and be friends and, like go drink or something. I'm like, okay, cool. This is totally not me. This is totally like party guy frat stuff. I just do not. identify with whatever. But you know, whatever. I'll do the story, and it's just like this whirlwind of meeting different people and getting involved in their lives, and it's really interesting how deep every character is, how much like problems they have, and you learn about them and that kind of stuff, and your dialogue actually. Like you can totally play it off as like you're some player asshole that just does things, but you can also just be real honest and genuine with people, and it actually reflects in the dialogue and how they interact with you. And it was actually really cool. And um, the other surprising thing is I don't know if the chapters or the story is necessarily dynamic based on your choices or not, because I'm only in one playthrough right now. And I know that you have options to date or even just sleep with other people in the game, but like I don't know what that affects if there's a main story or not. But one of the characters that you are involved with, and the one that I steered towards a relationship in not on purpose, but in one of whatever situation I chose that one, um, has a suicide attempt early in the game, and you're like, oh okay. So and they handle it a very respectful way. They talk about how dangerous it was and that kind of stuff, and giving her space. But there's a lot about her mental health in there. And then you get to know her and what's going on with her, and of course, all these other people. And long story short, she has a nearly successful suicide attempt that you physically try to stop. And that is a very gut wrenching scene because you totally think basically she jumps off a bridge and you grab her before she falls off. And she's like hanging there by your hand, and you're like, don't jump, like I love you, that kind of stuff as the character's going. And she's like, I love you too, but I can't do it anymore. And she purposely like lets you go and just like falls off, and you 100% think she's dead and stuff. And it's just like this game was a lot more impactful emotionally than I thought it was going to be. And right before that chapter, they have a disclaimer. And what got me is like, of course, I'm a little invested, so I was like, "Oh man, this is rough." What got me is the developer apparently is one guy or one person, and during this section of the story, there's a specific disclaimer about, "Hey, this is a rough subject. I'm giving you the option now to skip it all." And I was like, "Nah, I can handle it. Let's go through it." Cut right after she sort of like falls, and you no longer see her, and you see like your character just like screaming in pain or whatever from the emotion of it. It cuts to a real life picture of a bridge with some flowers on it, and then the developer goes into the story about how his own daughter took her life and the stuff that she said to him and led up to it. And I was like, holy cow. I did not expect this. So I guess this is speculation here, right? Because there is definitely dialogue directly from the developer to you as a player in that moment of like what happened, and he does a little of explaining and that kind of thing. But I didn't expect that. Like that hit me pretty hard, because I was like, that was a real thing. And he it sounds like he wrote this story to sort of get through that and kind of stuff. But he also says, I guess he had been talking to his daughter about writing a game or a story or something, because he said her last words to him was, "That's great. You should write a story about that." And this is that story. And I was like, holy cow. Oh my gosh. Like that happened today while I was playing. I was just like, I was not emotionally prepared for this today. I was just playing a bunch of fun games. Like, what is going on? Like, but like, yeah, it's a crazy game. It was like $5 called Leap of Faith. I'm not done with it. I'm not done with my playthrough. There's still sort of like the aftermath of what's been going on in the story. I have no idea if if there's branching paths. I might go through a playthrough again to see if there are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very weird because like when I think about these sort of like what I quote unquote harem situations where you have a lot of women to pick from, that kind of feel, they kind of feel like they fit some archetypes, and it kind of feels very shallow to me. It's what I don't like about like animes that do this a lot. Like I'm sure you see that a lot, Ace, in some anime. I mean, it's something
Yeah.
I've experienced in my limited experience watching it. I don't like that. But all of these characters feel like fleshed out people with real problems and that kind of stuff, and it's just like
Right.
the writing in this game is blowing me away. That's what keeps me coming back for it because it just feels so, I don't know, poignant and real. Even though it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
literally like it's like the way I would describe the graphics is just above the uncanny valley of 3D art, like just above it. Like there are some real uncanny valley shots in this game. You're like, it's supposed to be a human. It ain't. It's supposed to be. But like it's just it's a wild ride of a game. I've only sat down and played it through like 3 sessions, but I'm like 10 hours in. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
2 very long sessions that I played. So it's insane. Like I don't know. If visual novels were this good, I would have played a lot more of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
yeah.
Speaking of the Uncanny Valley, I recently finished watching Andor finally, and then I went and watched Rogue One after,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, the Uncanny Valley that they used to recreate Grand Moff Tarkin was something
It was very
something to
real.
behold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they could have just recast it and it would have been fine and just named him as someone else. Got a even close to a look-alike, but Star Wars and their CGI recreations of people who have passed away are just too much sometimes.
Yeah, I mean they could have just, like you said, asked someone else
Mm-hmm.
or done prosthetic work too, but whatever.
Jeez. So I mentioned a couple movies that I got to watch that horror slash comedy. First one is Cocaine Bear. I saw that the other day. Did you get to see this yet, Ace? I know you said you were going to.
I have not. Um, is it on one of the streaming platforms?
I don't know. I watched it on Vudu. So
Gotcha.
most everything's on
So I'm
Vudu
probably not
because you
yet.
can just buy it. I don't know if it's on Hulu or anything like that. Boy, is that a wild ride of a movie. Also, that's the movie that I learned that Ray Liotta died because it's dedicated to him at the end of the movie, and it says
Oh,
in loving memory of Ray Liotta, and I was like, he died? Oh my gosh, last year. Like I guess it hit news, but I don't pay attention to news, as you guys know. So yeah, he plays a pretty prominent role. This is his last like movie that he finished. He was in the production of another movie when he passed away, but this is the last movie that he finished. Um, Also, crap, what's her name? The writer slash director of this movie.
Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, Elizabeth Banks. I was very surprised that she both wrote and directed this movie. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Elizabeth Banks did this? Holy cow. Uh, it's a great movie. You should watch it. It's hilarious. The bear is hilarious. Uh, Super gory though, but I'm sure you'll be fine because you like horror stuff. So it is a bear.
yeah.
There are some really funny scenes where the bear gets super high and just straight up addicted to cocaine at this point. Like it is. There's like a scene where it just like it rips off some girl's leg early on in the movie, and it's powdered in cocaine as well, and it just like does a line off the leg, like just the bear just hilarious.
All
Um,
right then.
the other one is not as good. I'm going to preface it, not as good, still funny, not as good, which is Benny Loves You. Have you guys seen this?
Oh, think
Heard about it.
I think I've seen the poster for it on one of the streaming services I have, but I
Yeah.
haven't watched it yet.
Along the lines of Chucky, a toy killing people. Um, the weird thing is the toy doesn't want to kill him because he was nice to Benny. So Benny loves you
Hmm.
because Benny loves the guy who was taking care of him. But sort of the idea is that if you throw out your childhood toy that you put a lot of love and time into, it will come to life and murder you for your betrayal. And that's kind of the premise of the movie. And they make it very clear that Benny is not the only one this happened to. It is all childhood toys who were thrown away that was a lot of time and love and taken care of. The quality of the movie and the special effects and all sorts of things are not up to par. The acting is not up to par. Like, it is a bad movie. 100%. I still suggest watching it. It's hilarious. It's not as good as Megan. Nowhere close to Megan, but it was still a fun time. And anytime I hear that little toy sound of Benny loves you, it kind of makes me laugh now because it's just
Eh,
the they do very well with the sound effects of Benny, just the toy sound effects of his different voice lines for different situations. Because he's a toy, he can only say certain things it's like certain ways, and it's really funny.
hmm
There's a lot of action Matrix scenes too. They showed them in the trailer. And if you've seen the trailer, there's some of them there where he like
Huh.
jumps over a flamethrower or something. It's insane and it's funny. Um,
Well, speaking of bad movies, have you seen apparently there's going to be a remake of The Room
no,
starring Bob Odenkirk?
no.
And then apparently Tommy Wiseau is also coming out with another movie. Um, I forget what it was called. Um, and then have you at all heard of the movie The Fanatic
Mm-mm.
starring John Travolta? I
Nope.
feel like I've mentioned it on the podcast before. Um,
If you have, then I've heard of it. I just don't remember it.
you should watch it because you will absolutely remember it. It's one of those so bad it's good movies, I would say.
I
Um,
kind of remember you talking about it because just how crazy Travolta was in the movie. I kind of remember you talking about it, but I don't
John
remember.
Travolta plays a, uh, by his performance, it seems, a person who has mental difficulties,
Yeah.
has some sort of disability that makes him struggle in social situations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he lives in, I think, Hollywood area, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because he sort of has a job as sort of like a street performer almost, I think it is.
Yeah.
But he's obsessed with this one movie star who's played by Devon Sawa of Stan fame or Final Final Destination,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Yes. Um, and so the whole movie is essentially him uh, sort of being shunned by this guy or sort of denied by this guy of like just getting a signature and or just like talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie is him like essentially trying to form a connection with or like just get the guy to give him a signature or give him like the fan experience. And then it evolves from that into, I guess, sort of pseudo revenge. and
Mm-hmm.
it is a wild, goofy ass ride.
I'm sure. I'll look into it. I've had a little more time to watch movies lately. I've been past couple days. I've been at the house a lot more, so I've watched. Like I said, I watched a couple things. Rewatched some Marvel movies, that kind of thing, like the Iron Mans.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, are you starting the whole saga over again?
No, no, I am not. I'm. There's no way I'm ever going to be as invested ever again as I used to be. It's just not happening. I can't believe Sasha doesn't like Spider Man.
Ooh, if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch The Fanatic.
I do not,
I
but
mean, you can't believe that I don't like Riverdale
I didn't.
because that's what Spider-Man feels like to me, especially the Tom Holland, like
What's Riverdale?
Riverdale, Betty and Veronica and Archie,
Oh,
the CW show.
okay.
It's just what Spider-Man feels like to me. It's why I'm not into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the awkward nerdy kid. I guess I identify with the awkward nerdy kid a lot, so that's why I like Spider Man. But the guy. I don't think I've ever been
Yeah.
as smart as Peter Parker's depicted being, but
Yeah, they're just not for me.
okay. So what is your superhero of choice?
My superhero of choice. I mean, like comics wise, I probably would choose X-Men, but the movies are a bit of a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me, I saw a TikTok yesterday or the day before of someone going through uh, all the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Um, and for like, I think it was for X3, um, for X-Men Origins Wolverine. Uh, I think Apocalypse it was called, and then
Mm-hmm.
um, Dark Phoenix or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They used the Dwayne the Rock Johnson meme. This is the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever seen in my life.
Mm.
So they just had like that 4 times. They used on one of them. I think it was, or no, it wasn't for Logan. It was one of the. I think it was Days of Future Past. They used the Homelander one, the clip of him being like, "It's perfect, everything down to the last minute detail." And then for Logan, they had like just some guy going crazy, just be like,
Hmm. None.
I really like Dark Phoenix, and I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about like the comic lines.
Mm-hmm.
right.
So, like those movies are really disappointing to me. Another one that's a big disappointment to me is Jennifer Garner as Elektra. Like the soccer mom is supposed to be this like international assassin. I don't know. The Elektra comics are so violent and gritty, and I just like Jennifer Garner is not it. I want to see like Christopher Nolan style Elektra movie.
Sure.
Well, yeah, those mid 2000s superhero movies were all pretty hit or miss.
We
Because what it was,
you liked the
Hulk.
new
They
Batman,
had
right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I did
they
really
were
like the new one.
they had Hulk, Daredevil, then they had Elektra.
I'm not gonna lie,
They
I
had
liked Hulk.
Catwoman with
I like the older
really
Hulk.
weird scenes.
The super green Hulk that was throwing tanks at people. I like that Hulk. I'm not gonna be ashamed of that.
That's fine.
He fights two giant super roided dogs. Yeah, we're good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, I've never been a comic person ever. Like I don't like when people ask you like what's your favorite superhero, I mean I say Spider-Man because I do like Spider-Man, but I like Spider-Man more because the cartoons and the movies. I never read the comics. I don't care about the comics that much. Like I've never cared about superheroes. Like if you were to say like, hey, what's a nerdy thing that you don't care about? It would be comics, like and superheroes. Like those are the least things that I'm interested in as far as like.
I think most of my favorite comic characters or superheroes, I have not been satisfied with seeing them on the screen, or they haven't made it. Like, I really like Spider Woman.
Mhm.
I like Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. I like Rogue,
Mhm.
like Brotherhood of Evil Rogue. Um, I like the Dark Phoenix, but I'm just not seeing any of that stuff that I enjoy in movies or TV.
I mean, I like Captain America from the movies, but that's because he's funny. Like to me, like that's the sort of naive humor at times that he had in the first one and the second one, and I don't know. I like quippy characters. So that's why I like Spider-Man and such. I like witticisms, you know, whether they're being a bit
Mm.
sassy. That's about it, and that's why like we talked about earlier. That's why I like Deadpool so much because he's just so witty and jokey. But other than
Mhm.
that, like I don't like if there's never another Spider-Man or Marvel movie, I don't think I would be bothered that much. Like even though I like
Mhm.
Spider-Man, I'm not super invested in the, in it. Um just never have been. So like when the Marvel stuff, like I was interested in the Marvel stuff going up to Endgame and all that. And then Endgame happened. It was like, cool. That was fun. Now I can stop caring, and I stopped caring. Like, I
I
don't think.
just it's disappointing with especially the X-Men franchise because there are some X-Men comic lines that are along the lines of Infinity War. And
Yeah.
it's a bummer, like Age of Apocalypse, or to see like House of M or something like that. And they have just fumbled continuously every single time they do an X movie.
Mm,
That they can't build the hype like they have with the other
Mhm.
Marvel movies.
nope. No, no, and that's always the problem with adaptation, is that in some ways it's just not going to live up to the source material because it isn't the source material first of all, and second of all, they're going to take a lot of times they're going to take quote unquote safer approaches to stories rather than you know what was there a lot of the time. I'm sure, like I've talked a couple times about I would really love to see the Salvatore series that I really like be made into movies, but at the same time I don't because they're just very violent and very graphic series, and they're not going to make it R, and it's not going to be the same if they don't make it R. Like one of the most famous scenes, quote unquote, for me, to depict like it would never happen in a movie, is there's this Quickling, which is kind of like a pixie that doesn't fly. They're just super fast. That is sort of like not a great guy in one of the stories. Like he's not evil, but he's certainly not helpful. And Dritz, the protagonist, is having a lot of problems. He even gets attacked by the Quickling at one point. So the Quickling is aiding this guy who's trying to hunt down and kill Dritz, this Roddy McGristle character who's sort of like this burly, like macho woodsman guy who is on his racism, just wanting to kill Dritz because dark elves are evil, from a racist point of view. And the Quickling does something that the Roddy doesn't like, so Roddy tricks the Quickling and rams him into a shovel. Like basically does a thing where the Quickling runs into like you step on a shovel and hits you in the face, right? So he sets it up so the Quickling runs on a shovel, knocks himself out. He stuffs the Quickling in a bag, and the Quickling's like, "Oh no, what are you gonna do?" And then he literally just smacks him against a stone wall until he dies, and it just becomes a
Oh, like
bloody
in
pulp.
Friday the 13th with
Yes,
the sleeping bag.
Yes, he's sleeping bag Friday the 13th, the quickling to the wall until it's a bloody pulp. And you're not going to see that not in an R
I
rated
mean,
film.
I think I think sometimes it's better not to get like that graphic with stuff because like Game of Thrones, the books are really graphic and not just with violence but like sexual
Oh,
violence,
yeah.
all kinds of stuff. And like specifically what Ramsay Snow does to Theon Greyjoy in the shows,
Mm-hmm.
like it's implied that he castrates him and he does a couple of other things to him, but like what he does in the books is so much worse and it's so much more graphic, and I am so thankful that I didn't get to see that on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. But
And not just that, but like what he does to Sansa. Super thankful
yeah.
I didn't get to see any of that on screen.
No, and I agree to a degree, but I don't think so. Like that is probably the beating him against a wall. I don't think that's super over the top. I mean, yeah, you literally did that in Friday the 13th, right? I forgot about that because I'm not a horror fan, but like that, like, but there are things that happen that I don't think would happen. So there's this point where Drit's sister comes on to him in a very sexual way. I don't think they would want to put that in a theater, but that's actually
House of the Dragon, yeah, it'll happen. House of the Dragon,
House
baby.
of the Dragon is an HBO show, not a movie. There's a difference. HBO show goes a lot higher than a movie will. That's why.
I feel like we would see it. I think we would see it.
Now he doesn't do anything about it, and there isn't a scene, but like it's very, I don't know, important to Drit's character building that moment because he's like, "You're serious? What am I doing here? What is happening?" Like it's very much his it's his last straw to rejecting his own culture and running away, and he was sort
And we
of,
would see it.
yeah, you would have to see it. Like you would have to see that scene and what's going on, and it is not a great scene. Like as far as like I would think, but my brain is thinking like movies, right? Because they've been talking about movie talk. So if it's an HBO show, I think it would do better because HBO shows are not afraid of showing that kind of stuff. And you're right, like they're allowed to get through with more, even though even more was not as graphic as the Song of Fire and Ice books, but here we are. I don't know. So I always worry, like, even though I would love to see depictions of what those things are, I'm always afraid that they will tone it down or change it in some way to fit what they feel would hit a broader audience. Another thing is, if you want to stay true to what it's like in the books, the first 3 quote unquote stories are in entire pitch blackness. There is no light where they are. They are beings that see through infrared vision.
So it just sounds like it would just be an HBO thing because HBO makes all their shit real dark too. So
No, they'd probably do like
I mean,
a cool thing in the beginning to show, or like if there's parts where it because it'd be very tiring to watch everything in infrared the whole time. Like my goodness. But it does matter at points because they can see people's footsteps and stuff left on the cold stone and that kind of stuff. Like it's, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you would do it at certain
The
points.
Last of Us showed that you can have a zombie apocalypse at night and be able to see shit.
Yeah, but they probably made it able to see. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
I mean, like most of the episodes weren't even about the infected anyway. So
Yeah, but I mean, at least the night scene that they had, you could actually like see and tell what was going on and where people were, as opposed to the infamous Winterfell battle with the White Walkers.
there's a 1 or 2 House of the Dragon episodes that were real dark too, like that beach scene at the funeral. Whew. Like we knew what was going on, but
yeah,
they didn't want you to see all of it.
At the end of the season, though, I'm still shook by Vagar
No context.
just chomping down.
Okay, like I read the books, so I'm like fully prepared for the trauma of the next season.
Yeah, you talked about that. I remember.
It's gonna be upsetting. What Vagar does is just like
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I
Oh,
am
I know.
I'm not. There's like one specific scene in House of the Dragon, or like, what is the book called? Fire and Blood. That it's like near the end of one of the dragons' lives, and it's so graphic and really upsetting. And I don't want it. I don't want to watch it.
Fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just always afraid that they're going to cut stuff out, and I just don't want to see things change. You know what I mean? Like I want to see the story that I think it was meant to be written, and not the way that they're going to interpret it, which is my biggest and still big reason why I don't like the idea of watching Ready Player One. We've been over this because like I read the books and I know that just visually the changes are not there, and the setting is different, and you know that there's all sorts of things that are just changed to be more palatable, and I'm just not behind it.
Fair enough.
So I just don't want to see that happen to some of my favorite series. Although I do want to see Hard Luck Hank on the big screen, and it's kind of hard to fuck that up because it's just funny. So unless they don't make it a comedy, they make it like some, you know, it needs to be like just a more comedy version of Fifth Element. That's what it needs to be, because that level of sci-fi, that's what Hard Luck Hank needs to be. So next week, Ace, I think it's your turn to figure out what we're doing. You don't have to do it this second. Don't worry. We'll figure it out between.
We'll see.
Yes, we'll see. And then Sasha will be her turn to do something. And then we'll be back to me. And I think when we come back to me, I think we're going to have you do the more Monster Hunter guessing thing.
Okay.
Because we still got a ways to go. We still got a ways to go on that. And it's been a little bit. Not too long. It hasn't been too long. It's not been as long since our break between the last time we doing it and the time before. But I quite enjoy doing the Monster Hunter guessing thing. It's fun. I like doing games on here. Like, I really like the Jeopardy one. I think the Jeopardy one last week was really good, Tasha. Still.
Thanks.
My friend Jared wants to watch it instead of listen to it. So he's been holding off, but he's been very busy. He's been my great source of feedback lately. So,
Gotcha.
So anything else you guys want to talk about? I know I ranted about a lot of stuff today, but I had a lot to say, especially Leap of Faith.
I'm okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So thanks everyone for watching and listening. Next week we'll find something else to talk about, and I'm sure we'll get it figured out sometime soon, or the day before. Who knows? I mean, I wasn't super early on my topic this time because I was trying to think of it. So, and even then I stumped myself, like I said. Again, thanks. If you guys want to follow the podcast, it's at HuntersUpPod on Twitter and Twitch, and at Ace Badger Gaming if you want to follow Ace, and then the Discord if you want to follow or talk to Sasha and the rest of us. And you know, we talk in there sometimes. We've been talking a little bit lately. I don't know. I might put some Leap of Faith stuff in there, but I'm a little gun shy because it can get pretty graphic at times. They're 100% full nakedness of both guy and girl, and I'm not taking a screenshot of that and putting it up there. But there's some funny scenes too, I will say. So maybe you might see some stuff. Well, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.